Good morning, Rabbi Isai. So we're talking about Tvilas Etzba. Let me give you a quick reminder here. The certain karbanos that you bring into the heichal, and the kohen sticks his finger into the kli and sprays the blood. The question is, since it's necessary for him to put his finger in the blood, so is that considered one of the avodos, one of the essential avodos that you have to do with the carbon? And therefore, if it's essential, then he could mess up thinking about the wrong carbon. Instead, this is a carbon chatas usually. He's thinking to himself, oh, it's a shlamim. Now, if he's taking a break, sitting in the Beis Hamikdash, minding his own business, they say, oh, I'm in the middle of doing a shlamim. That doesn't do anything. You have to be in the middle of an avodah. You have to be in the middle of shchita, middle of kabbalah, middle of zrika. What about tfilas etzba? So, is it considered, the Gemara wants to know, is it considered hilacha? Maybe that's the walking, the bringing it towards the paroichas. You can even see that curtain over there is supposed to be the paroichas in the heichal. The Tani Chada, one Tana says, Tfilas Etzba mifagels b'chatas. You could mess up with a bad thought during your chatas, sticking your finger into the blood. But nothing happens. It's nothing. My love, Tanai l'chayra. It's machlokes Tanai if this is considered walking, moving towards, like one of the four avodas called hilacha, lai harabanan haRebbi Shimon, the famous Rebbi Shimon that we had yesterday. We had it a few times already. Rebbi Shimon says that since walking towards the mizbeach is not necessary. Why is it not necessary? Because you could shech the animal right by the mizbeach. So the whole walking, even though today it might be necessary, you shechted the animal 400 feet away, not 400, 30 feet away from the mizbeach. So you must move towards the mizbeach. But since you don't need to, you could have gotten away without it. You could have shechted next to them. So it's not an essential avodah. Not essential avodah. Then your thoughts don't mess anything up. Rebbi Shimon says that you cannot be mefagel. You can't think a thought of pigul that I'm going to eat it outside of the allotted time. You can't think during halacha. During shchita, yes. During kabbalah, during zrika. Not halacha. It's not essential. As the Gemara, well, you're saying it's Rebbi Shimon? Then you have another big problem. Rebbi Shimon, my ear tfilas etzba. So what are you talking about? Dunking your finger into the blood? Any carbon that doesn't go onto the outer mizbeach. The outer mizbeach is the regular mizbeach, meaning the regular mizbeach that has a ramp. If the carbon doesn't go on that, then Rebbi Shimon holds there's no pigul at all. So all the karbanos that go on Yom Kippur, the Yom Kippur karbanos, or we have the ones that we learned in Harius with a mistake from the Bezdin, etc. There's no zrika. When there's no zrika sadam on that mizbeach, the regular zrika that you do on the corners of the mizbeach, ain't by mishim pigul. You can't be mefagel. So on Yom Kippur you can't do pigul. No pigul at all on Yom Kippur. So it can't be Rebbi Shimon. Rebbi Shimon, okay, you want to tell me Rebbi Shimon holds that walking is not an essential avodah, but Rebbi Shimon also holds that there's zero pigul. So if there's zero pigul in Yom Kippur, what is he telling me? Oh, when you dunk your finger in, there's no pigul. You can't do any pigul anyway. Even in the shchita part, you can't do pigul. Elohava or Rabbana. So we're talking about Rabbana, not Rebbi Shimon. V'lo kasha. Kan bechatois achitzoynois, kan bechatois apnimiois. There's a difference between the inner chatos and the outer chatos. The inner one means inside the heichal. When you walk inside here, anything inside this building is called pnimi. It's inside. And anything in the azara is called outside. Typically speaking, a chatos is in the outside. So when you're talking about the tfilas etzba, sticking your finger in the blood, if it's an outside kind of chatas, there's no sticking fingers in. No, you're not supposed to stick your finger in the blood. You're supposed to take the kli, you're supposed to take the vessel, and toss it towards the mizbeach. So therefore, sticking your finger in the blood and thinking a machshava of another animal or outside the lot doesn't ruin it. But when you're talking about the inner chatas, where the Torah says that you should stick your finger in and do this thing, achas, shtayim, all that's all inside. Beis Hashem on Thursday, we're going to, now that we say achas, just picture this. This is where he is. He's going, achas, kam b'chatois apnimis. Chatos chitzoynois pshita. If you're talking about a regular chatos, that somebody, what's a typical chatos? Chaylev, he ate chaylev, he brings a chatos. He's Mchal Shabbos, brings a chatos. That's all done on the outside. You don't go into the heichal at all. Pshita, of course, sticking your finger into the blood is not one of the avodas. Like sibu v'taval doesn't say over there you should dunk your finger. Says the Gemara Yitzrach. So it says you should take the blood. If comes a monkey, what's a monkey? A monkey could be nowadays an AI robot. Some non-human comes and puts the blood on your hand. Oh, so he says like this: if a monkey comes and pours the blood onto the kohen's hand, that's not good enough. The kohen's going to have to take it by himself. So it's as if the Torah says you should dunk your finger. It can go both ways. It doesn't say v'taval. It can mean either he did it, he took it himself, or not. Reb Shimon says that if a person has a thought about another animal during halacha, during taking the blood from the shechita to the mizbeach, you can't make it possible. Omer Reb Shimon ben Lakish, Moed Reb Shimon b'hilachas chatois hapnimis shemachshava poisels bu. Very gishmak. What does Reb Shimon say? Shimon says, I don't need to walk. We're talking about this area right over here, let's say. Let's say he could shecht it right over here next to the mizbeach and just toss the blood right over here. But instead he shechted it over here. So this is not necessary. He could have done it over here. So if he's walking, thinking bad thoughts about different animals, different korbanos, it doesn't do anything because he could have been right over here. So says the Gemara, that's only because he's shechting a chatos right in this area. But if you would need to shecht a chatos pnimi on Yom Kippur, on this Thursday, they take the blood of the chatos and they bring it, they go up all these stairs, they go into the ulam, this is ulam, and this is heichal. This whole area, this is Kodesh HaKadoshim right up here, yeah? This is where you have the aron and the kruvim. There's a paroiches right over here. This is the paroiches where he sprinkles the blood. You see this red line right over here. So, this is the menorah, this is the lechem hapanim, this is mizbeach hapnimi, this is mizbeach hazav, this is where they do the k'taris. He must take it from over here and walk. There's no way for him to get all the way here without walking. So since it's essential, so if he thinks about it, if he thinks about another animal, he can ruin it because now it's essential. Now here's all we're going to discuss, a very cool thing. Does he have to do it over here? And therefore anything past this blue line is walking that's essential? Or he could also do it in this red area. If he could do it in the red area, then this is not essential walking. He could do it right over here by this wall. The essential walking would be from this line upwards. As he's walking over here, then he thinks about it. That's the Gemara's question. Why? This is the mizbeach. The halacha is you have to do it north of the mizbeach. North of the mizbeach is this way, right over here. Is it the width of the mizbeach in the blue? Or it means any area in the entire Azara north of the mizbeach, including the red. So now we have a machlokes Rabbi Yossi and the son of Reb Shimon bar Yochai. What's Reb Shimon bar Yochai's son's name? Reb Elazar. Reb Elazar says even in the red area you could do the shechita. So you can do the shechita in the red area. So he's going to do it in this box right over here, right by the door to the ulam and the heichal. And therefore all this is not necessary. So let's say he shechted it over here on this box, and he walked. It's not a necessary walk. Not a necessary walk. You can't make it possible. From this point on, it's necessary. So from this point on, he could have a machshava of pigul. Says the Gemara. When you have to bring this Yom Kippur chatos inside, shemachshava poiseles behu, a machshava of shaloi l'shma. He's thinking this is not a chatos, this is a shlamim. That makes a puzzle. Hoyil va'avoda she'yachal levatla. Because this is a necessary avodah to walk the blood all the way to the heichal inside, for him to sprinkle it, achas, shtayim, all that's necessary. But since it's necessary, throughout that avodah, he could have the machshava of shaloi l'shma. As the Gemara, Reb Shimon says, but there is no pigul when it comes to the chatos of Yom Kippur at all. You're right, there's no pigul. I cannot think that I'm going to eat this meat of this chatos in 6 months from now. That's called pigul. And if you eat it, you actually chayav karas. That not, but you'll make it a puzzle. If you do think that, Reb Shimon says it's not pigul in halachas of pigul, but it has enough power to make it possible. And he has a kavachomer. We know that if a person thinks that when he's shechting a shlamim, he thinks that it's a carbon taida, it doesn't ruin the carbon. He just has to bring another one, but it doesn't ruin it. Yet, possible chatos, that same thought makes it possible when you come to chatos. You do chatos. There's only 2 karbanos in our first mishnah. That if you think the wrong carbon, it's possible completely, which are chatos and a carbon pesach. So you see the chatas is more severe than a shlamim. Chutz is manish. A paisel is shlamim. If you have the thought of pigul, thinking that you're going to put in the freezer for 6 months and make a barbecue in 6 months from now, that makes it pigul and it makes it pasul in shlamim. And it is shiv still b'chatas. Certainly that thought by a chatas pnimis. We're talking about not a regular chatas. By a regular chatas, of course, pigul works. I'm talking about a Yom Kippur chatas, a pnimi chatas. It should certainly ruin it and make it possible. Says the Gemara, okay. Remember, there are 2 thoughts one could have when he's thinking, when he's shechting. He's shechting the carbon, he's doing shechita, and he's thinking, I'm going to eat this meat of this carbon in 3 days from now. The max he could eat it is 2 days. He thinks I'm going to eat it in 3 days from now. I'm going to have a barbecue on Chalamayit Sukkos. Bam, it's gone. It's called pigul. You get cars if you eat it. There's another thought. He's thinking, I'm going to eat this chatos in Bet Shemesh, not in Yerushalayim, in Bet Shemesh. That's Chutz Makam. One is kares, one is without kares, but it's possible. Says Gemara, I just proved to you that a chatos pnimi from a kavachomer, you could have the thought of chutz manoi. Chutz manoi. How do I know that I can ruin it? Chutz makam. Even chutz manoi, if I'm going to do a simple limud, one from the other, what is that called? I see that chutz manoi ruins it, so chutz makim also ruins it. What is that called? The most simple limud. There's another one, okay, similar. Memetzinu. I find this halacha over here, I'm going to do this halacha over here also. No, I can't learn chutz makim from chutz man. Malchus is man shekin kares. Look at this chart. It says this is kares, super severe. This is not kares. So I can't learn something that's easier from something that's more chomer. Let's learn it from another thing that passes by a carbon that is a chatas pnimi. Shalei l'shma. What's shalei l'shma? Our whole masechta. I'm thinking about, instead of a chatas, I'm thinking that it's a shlamim. No good. Shekein noyeg bebama. So if you have a bama, and you think in the bama that this carbon shlamim is actually a carbon taida. Did you ruin it or not? Yes, you ruined it. So you see, but chutz makim doesn't work. If I think in a bama, I'm going to eat the not in Tom's River, but in Bet Shemesh. So that doesn't ruin it. So you see that shalei l'shma is more chomer than chutz makim. So the Gemara has a nice chap here. It caught us. What are you doing? You're doing bama. Guess what? The only thing we're discussing here are 2 animals, 2 karbanas, a chatas and a carbon pesach. Both of those don't even work on a bama. So you got to take the bama out of here. Shalei l'shma b'may noyeg. The whole concept of shalei l'shma, that you thought about the wrong carbon, it only passes 2 animals, b'pesach v'chatas. Oh, he's making me a tea. Don't worry about it. It doesn't even apply to bama, so forget about it. Now, again, we're still trying to find a source that an inner chatas, meaning a chatas you bring on Yom Kippur, you could ruin it with a machshava of chutz l'makom. I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to eat this meat here in Yerushalayim, I'm going to eat in Bet Shemesh. This is a hekesh. This is not a memetzinu, this is a hekesh. What's a hekesh? Here. Memetzinu means if I find this halacha over here, I'll use the same concept over there. Why not? Why would the Torah be different? This is different. Hekesh means it's in the same pasuk. It says over here, and this is slightly confusing, but throughout the whole Masechta, it's consistent. Pigul in the Torah is chutz makim. Pigul for us is chutz zman. Don't get confused, but that's how it is. I don't know why they did it like that, but when the Gemara says pigul, the Gemara means this right over here. B'yom hashlishi. You could only eat a carbon for 2 days or 1 day. What if you did it for b'yom shlishi, third day? That's chutz le zman. That's called b'yom shlishi. The next halach in the pasuk, the next halach is pigul. Pigul means in the Torah chutz l'makom. It doesn't make a difference to us. The bottom line is it has both of those halachas in one pasuk, chutz l'zman, chutz l'makom. And just like you see that chutz l'zman applies itself to the carbon chatos on Yom Kippur, so too, here's my source for chutz l'makom on Yom Kippur, chatos pnimi. B'boy seima, hekeshu. This is a hekesh. Now what? Shlishi is a chutz l'zman. Pigul is a chutz l'makom, so you can learn. You're asking me, how do you know chutz l'makom ruins, you have a machshava chutz l'makom by a chatos pnimi, it ruins it? From chutz l'zman. I learned it from the same pasuk. Oh, here we go. Here comes Gishmak. In Timsaloi Rabbi Shimon Sover lo Kibrei. If Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai holds like his own son, Rabbi Lazar, the Omar Beino Ulam Mizbeach Tzafin. Here's Ulam Mizbeach. This area right over here is called Ulam. This area over here is called the Heichal. In order to get into the Heichal, you have to go through the Mizbeach. This is very thick. We'll talk about it in a second. And come down here. So Rabbi Lazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, says, from the Ulam all the way to Mizbeach. In other words, the red area is also considered a place where you could check the animals. So if Reb Shimon agrees to his son, this is not an essential area to walk because you could go all you could check right over here, you could check anywhere here. So if I could check anywhere, I could check right by the doorway to the ulam. Therefore, if I'm walking from here to here, I can't ruin anything because it's not essential. Only from this entrance, this is the entrance to the ulam, inwards. When he starts walking from here, in here all the way to here, that's where you can mess up with a thought. Now, one more halacha. This halacha is halacha of levina. This is levina, frankincense. In the heichal, right over here, there's a shulchan. There were 2 bezichin, 2 spoonfuls of this. Now, on Shabbos Kodesh, they would remove the 2 spoons of levina, come out of the heichal, and burn it. Now they could burn it, says the Gemara right over here also. They could burn it anywhere. This levina is similar to zrikas adam, because once you burn the levina, once you burn this, you're able to eat the bread. Only then could you eat the lechem apanim. So it gives you a heter, gives you like a kapara. It's like putting the kmitza on the mizbeach, like putting the blood on the mizbeach. It allows you to do something. Once you burn this, it allows you to do the next step. Memela, I can mess up in the machshava. As I'm bringing this in the spoon outside of the heichal into the hazara to burn it, that's an avodah. And during that avodah, I can mess up and say, I want to eat the bread next month. Boom, bread is gone. If you hold like Rebbe Yehuda that says, I could, right over here in the red area, I could burn this, then I cannot ruin it with my bad thought while I'm moving, I'm bringing the bazichin, the frankincense. It only works from here to here. That's the only place I can have a bad thought. Why? Because right over here I could burn it. I don't need to walk over here. I could burn it right here. So I'm already in the heichal. So from the entrance of the heichal, right over here, Pesach heichal. You see it says Pesach heichal here. I don't know if you can read it, but it does say it. From here to here is where I'm messing up. Some hold that this ulam, how do you say ulam? Like a hall. This is a hallway before you walk into the heichal. Vestibule. Okay. Foyer. Vestibule. Foyer is good. Vestibule. If you hold that this area and this area are considered one, look, they're in like one building. It's one. So memela, even though your shulchan is up here, but walking here is nothing. It's considered one room. So then where could I have a bad thought? The whole red area, I can't have a bad thought. The whole heichal and the ulam, I can't have a bad thought. Where do I have a bad thought? In the thickness of this black wall right over here. This black wall is 10 feet wide. You ever heard of a wall? 10-foot wide wall. In those 10 feet, since it's the entrance, it's like a doorway. It's like a frame of a door. So when you're walking through the frame, 10 feet, I don't know how long it takes to walk 10 feet, a couple of seconds. In those seconds, I can think, oh, I'm going to eat this lechem apanim in 2 weeks from now. In those 5 amos. And some people say, listen, the frame of a door is like the inside of the room. 0 time to have a thought. However, when he goes like this, when he moves his hand from the entrance of the ulam out into the azara, that movement, in that millisecond, I could have a thought. Now we have a whole sugya. Is going like this, moving your hand, is that hilacha? Or hilacha means, like we know it in the dictionary, to walk. So if you hold that this is not walking, then there's 0 time to have a bad thought of lishma with, or chutz l'makom, chutz l'zman, with the bezichin, the levina, the frankincense. Every Tana, they would speak low, and they would have a microphone. They would have a speaker system. The speaker, the Meturgamon, the Rav Chisda would speak low, and the Meturgamon would scream it out. So he tells, Abaya tells Rav Chisda's Meturgamon, listen, you have it in with Rav Chisda. You see him every day. You're there. Ask him a question. This whole walking, you just told me it's not necessary, and especially in this area, that area. What if a Yisrael walks it? Does he ruin it or not? Malek Sheira says Rav Chisda, he answers back, it's good. A Yisrael could do it. Umikra Misayeni, and I have a pasuk, and the Gemara is going to slug him up and say it's not true. It says in the pasuk, Yishchatu is a pasach, the Yisrael is going to shech the Pesach, which he can. Yisrael is a lot of shech. But Yisrael is adam miyadam. So the Gemara understands the Kohen takes the blood from the Yisrael. In other words, the Yisrael did the hilacha, and the Kohen took the blood from him. Balavi mafshitin. Well, it doesn't make any sense what you just said. Zar v'aynen says mefurish that a Yisrael, this is what we're talking about, a Yisrael, v'aynen, and somebody who lost a close relative that day. Shikar, he drank too much, too many l'chaims at the Kiddush club. Ubal mum, person who has a mum. How do you say mum in English? Flemish. Bikabala, in all the Avedas, bikabala, b'hoilacha. What did it just say? Hoilacha. Zar, let's just take those words. Zar Yisrael and Hoilacha don't go together. You just told me that Yisrael could do Hoilacha because it's not necessary. Bizrika, okay, that's not important to us. Pasul, we know that it's Pasul. End of story, that's a checkmate. How can you tell me that a Yisrael could do Hoilacha? It says Mefurish, a Shikr, this, a Balmum, a Yisrael, but Hoilacha is no good. Not only that, and we're going to go back to these 2 words, these 2 sentences. V'chein yoshev, somebody sitting in the Beis Hamikdash, pasul. V'chein small, using your left arm, pasul. Tiyufta is always bomb question, not just kashya. It's a tiyufta. It's the end of the story. There's nothing you can do about it. V'ho Rav Chisda kruk amar, but Rav Chisda brought a pasuk. No, you can't bring a right from the pasuk. You're right. The Kohen took from the Yisrael. The Ovid Ma'izid Staba. The Yisrael was a klutz. He stood there like a shelf. He just stood there. He didn't move. It doesn't say that he was walking. The Kohen took it from his hand. He stuck out his hand. The Kohen put it on his hand. Took it from his hand. He was just helping him.
Did he do like Kabbalah?
No. The Kabbalah is somebody else. That you have to stick in. Look at Rashi. A Kohen did the Kabbalah, then the original Yisrael that did the Shechita went ahead and did the Ilacha. David says, Rabbi Yosef Dam Tabayu Hoilacha Bezor Machloikis Reb Shimon Rabbanon. Reb Shimon the Omar Avodah Shev Shelavat Lav Avodah. I read a lot of words here. Okay, so we have a Machloikis if a Yisrael could do Hoilacha or not. Does he ruin it? Reb Shimon that says that it's not a necessary avodah. So Memela Lav Avodah. So a Yisrael could do it. Why not? He's not doing anything. He's not doing an essential avodah. Lav Avodah. Therefore, it's okay with the Yisrael. The Rabbanon that say that's essential, Psula. Zok the Gemara. Omerlei Abaya. How do you explain shchita here? Shchita, we know that Yisrael could do it. It's not something you can do away with. How is it possible that Yisrael does it? You just told me, if you could do away with it, like walking to the Mizbech, you don't need it. Okay, so Yisrael could do it. And what about a shchita? How could Yisrael do it? Amarlei, shchita lav avoidihi. Boom, bam. It's not an avoida. Why? How do I know? Because all these psulim could do it. But something that's an avoida, something that a puzzle can't do it, then of course then it's puzzle when a zar does it. We're talking about paraduma. A paraduma, when a Yisrael does the shchita, it passes the paraduma. So you see, it is an avodah. It says the word Elazar, and also says Elazar means a kain, and it says Zois chukas haTorah, the famous chukas haTorah by a paraduma. So that means this is the way it needs to get done. Yisrael can't do it. No, so you see that shchita is an avodah. Shani part of the kachi bedek habayisi. We're throwing something out here. There's two concepts similar to we had kachi guf, kachi mammon. What's the word? Kedushas dam and kedushas aguf. Now we have something very similar. Kachi mizbeach, kachi bedek habayis. You have an animal that you designate as for the mizbeach. That's super high kedusha. But kachi bedek habayis means for the maintenance of the Beis Hamikdash. I'm dedicating an animal. I know you can't put it on the mizbeach. Why? Because it's missing one leg. But sell it, and whatever money you have from it, you'll give to the bedek habayis, to the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash. A paraduma is in the category of kachi bedek habayis, and therefore what? It's not considered an avodah. The shechita for it is not considered an avodah. It says Gemara of we have a mamish kavachomer. The what? Kachi bedek habayis havi avodah. Basically, the Gemara is stepping away from what we just said. It's not avodah. He says, listen, kachi bedek habayis. This is considered an avodah. The shechita is considered an avodah by something as low as a kachi bedek habayis, as a paraduma. Kachi mizbeach lav avodah. And if you have a korban chatos, it's not considered an avodah. Of course, it's an avodah. How does Yisrael do it? Or Rav Shisha Breder Ravidi midahava amaris negoim. You know that when who could look at a tzaras? Only one person, a kain. Even in Amaretz. But nobody's going to tell you that looking at a tzaras is an avodah. The lav avodah. It's not an avodah. Ubayikuna. So too ubayos also. You need a kain to shech this paraduma. Just like he looks at it's not because it's an avodah. Because I want a kain to do it. Says the Gemara about Ariel. Where was it? Right over here. Take a look. Rabbi Zai. Oops, wrong one. He brings the imurim. He brings the carbon parts onto the mizbeach and tosses it into the fire. I can do away without him walking. How do I do away without him walking? If I shecht it right by the mizbeach and I just toss it onto the mizbeach, I don't have to walk. Upsula bizarre. Yet a Yisrael cannot do it. Says the Gemara, why? How do I know the Says the Gemara, over there it says Mefurish in the pasuk. You're right. So you need a kohen to bring it onto the mizbeach. But by us, that there's no pasuk. Leigali. So the Gemara, don't you have a kavachomer? You don't have to bring the meat. It's not essential to the kapara. We said the kapara happens when Rabbi Isai? By the zrika. To put the meat on top of the mizbeach, that happens much later. And if you forget to do it, you still have a kapara. You can't undo a kapara the guy had an hour ago. Yet, it's necessary for a kohen to do it. To walk the blood. The makveh kapara. If you don't do it, you don't get a kapara. Like Kolchkin, certainly you need a kohen, not a Yisrael. So that should answer our question. Do you need a Yisrael to do the halacha? Do you need a kohen to do the halacha? And if Yisrael does it, it's possible or not? L'chayra, it seems like that Yisrael will passel it. It's possible. Afilu Reb Shimon. What does Reb Shimon say? Says Rashi. There's a bomb question here that Rashi asks. Think about it. Reb Shimon on the one hand says that if you walk the blood to the mizbeach and you have a thought of, this is not a chaz, this is a shlama, what does Reb Shimon say? Nothing. Why nothing? Because I don't need it. So if you don't need it, and Yisrael does it, how does it become possible? You don't need it. So why could Yisrael how could Yisrael ruin it by doing it? It's not necessary. Says Rashi. You're right. You can't have a thought of machshavas psul while you're walking it Aval avoida havi, it's enough in avoida, li possible bizarre. Interesting thing. Let's finish over here, unfortunately. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDAF.com.